Welcome to Deep Thought. Today I'm going to talk about the conscious and subconscious minds, and this is going to be an overview. And this particular podcast was interesting. You know what? I've done, I think, well over 500 videos / podcast on YouTube, right? And then when you add that to the podcast that I've done on other platforms, well over 1,000 videos / podcast, right? And with the exception of the pay-per-view videos, the purchase videos where I would always use an outline to stay on track, the overwhelming majority of the videos and podcasts, I can just start with, I just write down a title and go from that. And the majority of the time, if it's something I'm familiar with, I can flow with it like, you know, I'm reading something. That's why it's like more conversational and everything. I purposely want to keep it that way too. I like the vibe of it. But this is the first time that I really had to stop. Usually I could just write the thing. I had to stop. Okay, what am I going to say? What am I going to say? And the reason why, not because it's really a complicated subject or anything. The reason why is it's so much to it. I mean, I talked about that in my previous podcast. There is so much. You can go, if we just talk about the conscious and the subconscious. Really, I could do the equivalent of maybe 3 months of videos and to watch them. And when I say 3 months, I mean, you got to look at them back to back to back would add up to 3 months. And we're talking 15, 20-minute videos. And would still be at the tip of the iceberg, because when we talked about the conscious, subconscious, there is so much there. I mean, I was going through a book. I wanted to find like a concise definition, right? Even though people generally know what the subconscious is, but I wanted to find something concise, and I was like, well, I could use this book. And keep in mind, the subconscious, I'm using maybe the Western term, but then if you talk to an indigenous shaman, they would just say your spirit. Or you talk with a true metaphysics student or something, you know, they'll say spirit as well. You know, people going to look at it at different things, right? But it's still that same thing. It's still that part of the iceberg below the surface. Because the thing with the subconscious, I mean, we're aware of the conscious mind. You're listening to me with the conscious mind. You're listening to my voice. I mean, for those who want to, you're looking at my picture on this podcast, you know, or you might be listening and consciously looking at the videos on the side to see which one you're going to click on next. Or you might be listening and consciously on a totally other website, which is something I actually do. I'll listen to a podcast, even if it's a video, I'll listen to the podcast, but then I have like 3 other windows open. I'm on Facebook, you know, with my 5-minute conversations with O'Shea, or I'm looking at some booty pics or something on my Pinterest board or something, and then answering a text from somebody who wants something from me, right? I'm all consciously doing that, right? But the subconscious is taking in all of that, is taking in everything, right? The subconscious is taking in all that information I'm pouring in, but is also taking in ambient sounds from outside of my place. You know, and if some neighbors saying something, or walking through the building, or car sounds, sounds of the, wash machine if it's on, subconscious. It's taking in everything in the environment. It's happening below the surface. I'm not even aware of it, right? And that's how it works. See, the subconscious I would say it's a receptacle of information. It's a storehouse of information. information going back to your first moment of consciousness which was in the womb. Now, somebody could really tap into their subconscious, could really go back and say what their perspective or what their mother was doing during the 5th month of pregnancy or something. It's that deep. It takes in all sorts of information, right? But just for this overview, it's just to understand the basis of the conscious and the subconscious, which is 2 levels of thinking. Is operating. You have the conscious mind that's right now listening to this podcast, but then the subconscious mind is doing a whole bunch of other stuff. It's receiving the information, but then it's also digesting some food if you ate it. It's also regulating your breathing. It's regulating all your bodily functions out of it, right? And then it's say, once I finish this, I'm out and about. I go to a grocery store, or I go to a restaurant, get something, or go to the post office to mail something. Consciously, I'm having a conversation with any clerks that I encounter, or, consciously, I'm checking out some fat booty woman or something, right? Subconsciously, that's taking in that and plus some other stuff that I'm not aware of. But then if I'm interacting while I'm having a conscious conversation with this person, the body language is having a totally other conversation. And it's a funny thing. Some people are more attuned. Sometimes they can see that. They can go in a club or someplace where men and women are interacting, and they could be talking about politics or something. But somebody attuned can look at their body language and say, oh, yeah, they like each other. They flirting and stuff. So, it's 2 levels. It's 2 levels of thinking. It's 2 levels of conversation. And see, here's the thing. The subconscious, even though it's controllable by someone who is conscious of everything going in, and ultimately that's really a basis of awakening. The ability to make your subconscious serve your needs. But where we're at now as a culture, people actually serve their subconscious. When they eat certain foods, or, something like smoking a cigarette, when you have warnings saying this could cause harm, that's a subconscious thing that craves that thing. And, the more the people who are deep into the metaphysics, they'll say that's your spirit. But there's certain levels. As I said, I'm going to try to get a vibe of who's on the channel and who's not in terms of how I present stuff before I just go deep. Because I might not be able to go there. I don't know. I hope to. But anyway, right? The thing is, I want to get over this overview, right? Because the subconscious is larger. And, had one commenter, I'll shout out Darren Brown, he had mentioned 80%. I would respectfully say it's even more. It influences 90% of the average person's behavior, or even up to 95% of the behavior. So sometimes the subconscious, it can act in a way that can even be detrimental to a person. This is the case when we maybe abuse drugs or something. That's detrimental. Or this could be the case when we have an anxiety or something going on that prevents us from maybe keeping a job. And I talked about a little bit about this in the previous video. It could do a lot of things, or it could have us, because of what's going on in our subconscious, we're attracted to the wrong mates. Or we just constantly do self-destructive things, but that's a subconscious because it's larger. 95% versus 5. The 95 is going to win all the time until the 5% part figures out a way to effectively control the 95. And then that's when a person is powerful. That's part of the thing with initiation in more spiritual traditions, more esoteric traditions. And that could be anything from, shamanic religions or shamanic paths to, something like the Freemasons. Right? Now, check it out. One of the things, too, is because the subconscious. Now, this one point I want to get out, and this, of course, is another theme that I will address several times. A lot of this stuff we just gotta keep going over and over, right? And I especially want to discuss the practical ways that some of these things are happening. But real quick, wanted to talk about, because the subconscious influences our behavior beyond what we even know or think. Certain groups have figured out a way to do it, and in certain ways. There's 3 primary ways they do it, right? One is through the media. That's obvious. That's obvious kind of, when I was doing the Insecure reviews, I was pointing out some things. Like some people were saying it's just entertainment. It's never just entertainment. Somebody has an agenda. In fact, my next video is going to look at this TV show I was watching. And I was watching it for entertainment, but then something happened on it. I peeped. I was like, oh, damn, let me get out the notepad. Right? But anyway, the media, that's one way. That's one way. And, that's a whole other conversation. In fact, I'll be doing something. If you look on the art, the photo I have for my page, I have my bookcase and, some of my deeper books. Not all of them, ironically. I would need a bigger page. Anyway, or a bigger bookcase. Some stuff ain't even in the bookcase. But, I'm going to talk about that media and how the media goes right to the subconscious. A lot of this stuff happening out here. Even racial hatred, a lot of it is subconscious. It's not really rational in many cases, And just a real quick with that, that's why I'll use an example of, you have constant, one thing that many alt-right or white nationalists do, they constantly try to put down the intelligence of blacks, right? And even when you present them with arguments about blacks did this, and this, they can't deal with it. That's a subconscious thing more than anything else. It's not rational. Especially when you present evidence like, no, a black person did this, a black person did that. It's not rational. Or when you have black women wearing weaves and stuff. It's not rational. It's a subconscious thing. It's a deep thing. It's deeper than just saying, self-hatred. Because then you have to ask yourself, how did it get there? And it's deeper than just saying, white supremacy. It's deeper than that. It's that subconscious thing. You got to break into the subconscious and say, okay, why is this happening? It's never just one factor. But anyway, you got elite groups using the media. That's one of their primary ways. The education system. The education system is really there to really build a caste system. And, when you have like a 5-year-old or something who is just hyperactive or something like that, A, they want to give them drugs, or B, say something's wrong with them. And this especially happens with a lot of black boys. They put in classes where they're not really challenged mentally. So the education systems, it's really a socialization system. Is really a socialization system, and we'll talk about that more. One thing on this, this ain't gonna be like one thing, and then this is just about the channel in general. It's not gonna always be about like how deep we can sound and all of that, or we'll get into some spiritual stuff, but just like I said, and I said this when I first introduced the channel, a lot of it's just gonna be some practical stuff. And some political stuff. The political stuff, hey, everything is connected. Even if we could talk about sports and it's connected. So, anyway, right? It's the education, and then third way is through religion. Regardless of your spiritual path or religious path, religion is a way of influence you subconsciously. And in fact, if you look up in 332 AD, the Council of Nicea, it set the basis of what the majority of people practice or call Christianity. And it's actually different from what Jesus actually taught. But like I said, we just had to be honest with it. And no religious scholar will refute that the Romans put in what they wanted to. So it's like, really, if you really want to really get into spirituality, and this is a completely other conversation, particularly the Christian religion. You probably need to study some of those books that were left out of the Bible, because this isn't doubting the presence of Jesus or anything, not at all. But there was that's a whole other conversation. I'll just say this. Ask yourself, why are the main tenets of Christianity something that was formed 300 years after Jesus actually walked the earth? It was more of a control thing. I'm sorry, I have to go there with it. And that's with all of these religions. The holy men that start the religion, right? They presented a system of evolution. But then someone political gets into it and figure, hey, we can control a person more effectively than we can with a weapon. Boom. So that's a totally different conversation. I'm sorry about that tangent. But it's a way of controlling the subconscious. And I mean, another way is subliminal messages and stuff. It's it was a big deal made out of years ago about department stores playing some subliminal messages. Like, consciously you couldn't hear it. But it would be at such a level where the subconscious was picking it up. Remember, the subconscious picks up everything, every single thing. It's picking up. So if you got something broadcasting at a level that maybe dogs can hear, your subconscious still picks it up. But it's at such a level, and see, they'll put that in there, and that subliminal thing, or, there's a lot of subliminal messages in a lot of visual things. A whole lot of it. I mean, that's part of, it's interesting. The advertising executive in this day and age is like the shaman for indigenous cultures of maybe 500 years ago. They're doing some magic. So, and I said this in the last podcast. It's when we start thinking deeper, and you really start thinking, something can just pop in your head, right? And then you could take it on a whole other tangent. Now, even with this, even though I say I usually don't write down stuff, I had a list of things that I pretty much went on it, but just even approaching one of it, all of a sudden it's like, boom, it branches out to something else. So anyway, that's an overview. Everything that we'll be talking about on here will be really about dealing with the subconscious, dealing with the spirit, what's going on beneath the hood on every level. And I use the term subconscious because I think that's the term most people, regardless of their spiritual path or religious path, will be comfortable with. Like I said, I know like some deep metaphysics students that just say the spirit. So anyway, and to be honest with you, if we're going to be technical, the spirit is actually at a deeper level than the subconscious. So, but I'm not going to get too deep. So, one thing about this, and this is something I'll just end with this. It's amazing how if you start talking deeper, get past like, the man-woman thing or sports or pop culture with stuff that really challenges you mentally, and you get in a conversation, boom. It's like, it goes deep. I might actually get around to doing some hangouts on here. that would be epic. Anyway, just keep rising and transforming. Peace.